Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all the new subscribers, and thanks to the old subscribers. Thanks to all of you. And if you haven't seen any of my work before, thank you for tuning in if this is your first time. Right, so today's 15-minute video, I'll make it short because I have done a whole video on the month of January 2019 in terms of the planetary energies that are cooking, assimilating, expressing, manifesting, completing, doing all sorts of things for the month of January. But today what I'd like to just do a few comments on is the lunar eclipse that's only just a couple of days away. I'm a little bit late in posting this video. I do apologize. Normally I would have had this ready several days ago. However, as things happen in life, my computer had issues and I had it in the repair shop for several days, etc., etc. And that's just life. So anyway, here we go. The first thing that I want to do is the lunar eclipse that occurs on the 20th or 21st of January 2019 is going to be at 0 degrees of Leo. So that is a total lunar eclipse, full moon, at 0 degrees of Leo, 51 minutes to be exact. The sun will also be at 0 degrees of Aquarius, the opposite sign to Leo, 0 Aquarius, and 51 minutes. This lunar eclipse, being a total lunar eclipse, does carry a lot of high vibration, high energy, high impact with it. First of all, because it's a total lunar eclipse. In addition to that, it's the final eclipse in the polarity of the Leo-Aquarius energies. And this polarity, in terms of Leo-Aquarius, we've been working with this energy really for the last couple of years. And this is the final one that's going to occur in these two signs. And then we're moving on into Cancer, Capricorn, etc. So really what that's suggesting is that there's an incredible dramatic sense of closure and completion that's finishing up in terms of all the various high points and highlights and challenges and changes and adjustments, all those things that have really been happening in your life for the last 2 years or so. Before I talk about the actual eclipse is happening on the 20th or 21st, and you just need to look up online. It's very easy. Everything's so accessible online now. We know in terms of the time and day that it actually occurs in your location, because my audience is from all around the world, and I'm very aware of that. So where I sit is in Australia, so normally I refer to things from Australian Eastern Standard Time. So anyway, the 20th or 21st are the days you're looking at. Regardless of that, regardless of the actual day and the actual time, this energy has been brewing anyway. And really, it's been brewing for a couple of years, because this is the finale, as it were, in the Leo-Aquarius polarity. Those two archetypes have basically been challenging our self-expression, our identity, self-expression being Leo, and our whole individuation process and our relationship and connection to the collective at large, to group consciousness. That's Aquarius. Aquarius is group consciousness. And how have we, participated in that? How have we related to that? How has that influenced our life? What have we contributed? And how have we been able really to maintain our own personal identity and self-expression, balancing those two polarities, that is group consciousness and our own personal self-expression. And it is a balance. It is a dance. Every single sign has an opposite sign, and its polarity point, its opposite sign, is its shadow, if you like. So Leo is the shadow of Aquarius, and Aquarius is the shadow of Leo. And that is the case with every single sign in the zodiac. Every sign has its opposite sign. Its opposite sign is its shadow side. It's important to understand that, because even if you are, say that you are a Leo, for example, then the shadow archetype for you is Aquarius. So to really understand Leo, you need to also understand Aquarius just as much as you need to understand Leo. These polarities are very, very important, because nothing works in isolation. Nothing. And that is clearly seen in the birth chart, in astrology, in the planets, the cosmic forces, the cosmic energies. Nothing is working in isolation, and nothing is static. Everything is continuously moving, evolving, growing, and developing. And that includes every single human being on the planet, and that includes Mother Earth herself. What I want to do before I unpack just a few key points of this particular full moon lunar eclipse on the 20th or 21st of January of 2019, I'd like to read to you just a couple of comments from a really great book by Demetra George, actually. And if you haven't heard of her, or if you don't have any of her books and you are serious about astrology, I do recommend you look into her books. She's a wonderful astrologer, has a lot of deep understanding and insight, and she does a lot of work with the goddess energies. So if you're into the goddess energies, I highly recommend her work. Now, this particular book is that, well, I'll show you guys what it's called in case you are interested. Finding Our Way Through the Dark. This book is a little gem, really, but what I want to read to you is just a couple of comments in relation to solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, because keep in mind, we just had a solar eclipse a couple of weeks ago on the 6th of January. So we started the year with a pretty potent force of vibration and energy. And in addition to that, also it is important to understand and remember that that solar eclipse, the energy of that is going to be experienced, and it's going to continue to unfold for quite some time. So all this year, when we are, we've started the eclipse season, as it is often referred to these days, and although we have eclipses on certain months or certain dates, the in-between periods are really periods where we are assimilating and reflecting and processing and experiencing various things relating to the particular eclipse, whether it's a solar or a lunar, and of course wherever it lands in our own birth chart, because the way to kind of personalize an actual eclipse, whether it's solar or lunar, you need to relate it back to your own birth chart. So in the case of this total lunar eclipse at 0 degrees of Aquarius Leo, well, where is 0 Aquarius and 0 Leo in your birth chart? That axis will be somewhere in your birth chart. Therefore, that lunar eclipse will land somewhere in your birth chart. When I say somewhere, it'll land in one of the 12 houses. So whatever house it lands in, and it drags in the opposite house, because the energies are always working in a polarity sense. We're never looking at something in isolation in one space. There's always a polarity point with the signs and with the actual birth chart as well. When you're looking at the first house, for example, and you've got things happening in your first house of the birth chart, you're also drawing in insight and understanding in relation to the 7th house, which is the exact opposite house to the first, right? So everything is working in polarity pretty much all the time. Now, I would just like to read a few things to you, so bear with me, this will be useful. Okay, so in general, she says, eclipses are said to be negative. That's a very old traditional way that eclipses were assessed, by the ancients. An eclipse was an omen. It was, especially when we were talking about kings and queens and kingdoms who actually had their own personal astrologers. When an eclipse was coming, the astrologer, knew very well because they viewed things in very black and white terms. The eclipses were viewed as generally a bad omen. Now, we don't view things in those black and white terms in this day and age, because we have evolved, we have a lot more consciousness, we have a lot more understanding. And through consciousness and evolution, we have also learned how to, through the understanding that we gain, we know how to work at ourselves better, how to work with these energies better, how to transcend energies, how to transcend our experiences through the evolution and individuation process as well. But nevertheless, back in the day, eclipses were considered to be quite a dark omen. And it's really only considered that because, you see, eclipses, whether total or lunar, solar or lunar, they always bring things up from our unconscious and our subconscious. So they bring things up from our shadow side. And when we are not in touch with our shadow side, as it were, when we've totally suppressed it, and the eclipse just brings up something to light from our unconscious component within us, it can be a real shock. It can be terrifying. It can be so unexpected and so out of our control in terms of how it feels. But it's only because we are out of touch with that shadow component with ourselves. And solar eclipses, as I've said as well, are almost always create external circumstances that are usually very difficult and very challenging. And the reason for that is because the person is not in alignment in some kind of way. They're not being authentic with their own self. They're not transparent with their own self. So there's a lot of suppression, a lot of hiding things, whether consciously or unconsciously. So the solar eclipse just spits things out, which can be very, very challenging. There's been disastrous things that have happened in people's life as a result of a solar eclipse. So, as I was saying, she says eclipses are said to be negative, but this is a misunderstanding of the shadow function, which was what I was just explaining to you guys. In both solar and lunar eclipses, the light of either the sun or the moon is obstructed from reaching the earth. When the light of consciousness is temporarily blocked, something else is revealed. And this is the absolute key and power of solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, particularly total solar and total lunar. Partial ones have a power to them as well, but certainly a total solar or a total lunar eclipse is the most powerful, hence the word total. So when the light of consciousness is temporarily blocked, something else is revealed, that which is normally hidden, which is in our shadow component, our unconscious, our subconscious. Called windows into secret realms and open doorways into the subconscious, eclipses allow us to access that which has been concealed or repressed in our lives. And the access to something that has been suppressed or hidden, to have sudden access to that can be an incredibly transformative, empowering experience, provided we know how to cope with it. Because when we don't know how to cope with it, it comes through as something that's can feel quite destructive or disruptive. Eclipses are said to be karmic in nature because they relate to the issues that lie outside our consciousness. Now, I don't know if I'm going to remember this quote. I will try. It's a quote by Carl Jung, which really reflects this last statement that I just made, where she says, eclipses are said to be karmic in nature because they relate to issues that lie outside of our consciousness. So the quote by Carl Jung is something to the effect of, as long as we remain unconscious with our shadow self, we will continue to project the shadow self onto our external environment, which includes literally the earth and the conditions that we are living in and so forth, and certainly the people that we are connected with and having relationships and so forth. So as long as we remain unconscious and suppress the shadow, we will forever project that externally to us. And that projection creates the experience of something coming into our life as a fated or destined event, because it is unconscious. And the only way we can meet that energy is to project it out there and to have it come back to us. But it is our own stuff. It is our own shadow stuff. I hope that makes sense. Oh, well, here you go. There's a little bit that she says in relation to what I just said. If we are out of touch with the hidden material, which Carl Jung calls the shadow, then we may judge it as bad and destructive. We are shocked because this material seems to come out of nowhere, when in fact it was within us all along. To the extent that we have tried to repress the shadow material, we will call the results of the eclipses disastrous. But to the extent that we are open to the unconscious and the surfacing of hidden problems, we will experience the emergence of the material as neutral, revolutionary, or healing. So very, very powerful, very transformative. It just depends on our state of consciousness and awareness. Dane Rudhyar said that at the new moon solar eclipse, now this is a very important point. You may want to pause this and write it down. It's very, very profound. Dane Rudhyar was an astrologer amongst many other things back in the 1800s. He's one of the greats of greats. You know, he's revered as one of the greatest in his field and his craft, and he's written wonderful books as well. So he says that at the new moon solar eclipse, the present is blotted out by the past, while at the full moon lunar eclipse, the past is obscured by the present. Now, there's a very clear distinction in that statement. I will repeat it one more time. While at the full lunar eclipse, the past is obscured by the present. Sorry, I've gone halfway down. Doesn't matter. That's the full moon. The new moon solar eclipse, the present is blotted out by the past. In either case, there is something that's being obscured, right? And that obscurity of that light, which is the light not reaching the Earth's atmosphere, when we're talking about a solar or lunar eclipse, in both cases, something else has the opportunity to basically emerge, to come through into our consciousness. And particularly with a full moon total lunar eclipse, because the full moon itself is representative of illumination, crystallization, clarity. And as a result of that, we adjust things or make changes or let things go, move on, and so forth. So she goes on to say, this statement suggests that a solar eclipse, the sun, which represents our conscious awareness, when obscured, allows the forces of the past, which lie buried in the unconscious as psychic complexes, to be seen, confronted, and experienced with the possibility of integrating these previously unconscious energies into the present awareness. Very powerful stuff. During a lunar eclipse, it is the past symbolized by the moon, because the moon in astrology, whether you're looking at a birth chart, whether you're looking at a birth chart of a country, doesn't matter what you are looking at, the moon is always a symbol of the past in the present in terms of this incarnation, and the past as in previous incarnations as well. During a lunar eclipse, it is the past symbolized by the moon, which is obscured and can be released. In the absence of the conditioning of the past, the possibility emerges of meeting experiences in a new manner. That's the illumination of the full moon, because the full moon literally lights everything up. It's illumination, period. So I just wanted to read those couple of statements because they are incredibly profound, and if you reflect on them, hopefully you will understand them better as well. Now, regarding the lunar eclipse that's coming up on the 20th and 21st, as I said, it's the last eclipse in the series, or the polarity, the archetypal energies of Aquarius, Leo, which, as I mentioned, has been very much about our own individuality and our heart center, our heart energy as well, because Leo rules the heart, and it's that ability to be able to fully express with our heart who we are, versus understanding the collective, versus understanding group consciousness, understanding humanity, and finding the balance between that polarity, so that you see here's an inherent problem in the polarity of Aquarius and Leo. If you are standing in the Leo energy and not embracing the Aquarian energy, then the danger is that you become totally self-absorbed in yourself. And there's this sense of all self-importance of who you are, and no consideration for the group and for others. On the other hand, if you are totally identifying with the Aquarian energy, you lose that sense of your own identity and specialness of who you are within the group, because there's an over-identification with the group, with humanity, with wanting to relate to group consciousness, to connecting with groups, so much so that you lose your own point of identity and self-expression, because you are just simply blending in and relating with everybody else, or the entirety of the group. But who are you in that group? This is where the Leo quality comes in. So these dynamics, this polarity, these archetypal forces of Leo, Aquarius, these are the sorts of energies we've been working with. And as I said, heart center and humanity consciousness, or group consciousness, if you like. They're the key words, really. So this is the final eclipse in this polarity. So whatever's been going on in the last couple of years, and there would be pivotal points, there would be points where things really shifted direction, things changed, things were very challenging and very confronting. A lot of personal relationships have undergone a lot of intense challenges and stress as well. That also relates to the Venus in Scorpio being retrograde for so long, and then Ceres in Scorpio, which brought up a lot of grief and loss in the experience of very, very deep, intense feelings of what we feel within relationships as well, and the whole sexual dynamic and sexual energy as well, from a tantric perspective, from a everyday perspective, whichever way you want to look at it. So this final eclipse is kind of like because Leo is a sign of drama. It's a sign of the actor. You know, it's that famous saying, "The world's a stage and we're all actors on it," by Shakespeare. Well, that's the pure archetypal representation of the Leo energy. So the Leo energy performs and acts out whatever it is they're feeling, whatever it is they're wanting to express. It's very dramatic. It's theatrical. That's why they make wonderful actors. Leos, that is. It's not the only sign, but it's definitely a sign that really does very well in the field of creativity. So creativity is covers such a broad range of skills and crafts and activities, right? So this lunar eclipse is doing a final performance, you could say. It's the final act, the final drama, the final closure of everything that we've been sifting through and working through in terms of our own personal creativity, being true to our heart, and everything we've had to undergo and endure as a result of discovering more and more and more of what that actually is for each of us individually. And the important thing is, as I said earlier, we need to apply this lunar eclipse in terms of where it falls in your actual birth chart, because wherever it lands in your birth chart, it is that area of life that defines the context of how these energies in the archetypal expression of Aquarius and Leo, where that has triggered things off, which have created change, challenge, illumination, struggle, all those things. Because eclipses are generally not an easy thing. Yes, when we have more consciousness and more awareness, and we are more congruent and authentic, we can work with these energies in a more transcended way. But each of us are at different levels of consciousness and individuation. There's no wrong or right in that. It just is what it is. We are all at different stages, period. So this finale of this Leo Aquarius energy, I know people have been feeling the energy of this total lunar eclipse that's coming up for the last, well, we're right in the heart of really potent energies, because all the planets are moving direct. There's a lot of heavy energy with Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn. I think that the South Node's still in Capricorn. Heavy dose there. We've got a lot of fire with Mars, Jupiter, and Venus in fire signs. That's not a hard energy. That's a very freeing type of energy, actually, but it can bring up a lot of conflict because it's heat. Fire is heat. It's passion. It's putting yourself out there and getting what you want, as it were. Mars in Aries is a very, very determined Mars. It's very pushy, though. So we've got all these energies present as well. Plus, we had the solar eclipse on the 6th of January, and solar eclipses are very potent. The energy carried through before the actual eclipse date on the 6th of January and will carry through really for the next couple of months. In addition, this lunar eclipse we're just about to step into has already started stirring things up. Now, the lunar eclipses tend to be more connected to our internal world, our internal life, our emotional body. So they do tend to heighten us emotionally and stimulate us. And when things aren't balanced, when things aren't addressed, when things aren't understood, we get emotionally stirred up. That's what emotion means. When you break that word down, it means to be stirred up internally. So that's why emotions have the power of stirring us up, whereas deep feelings can actually bring us the experience of bliss and joy. They're not, feelings do not stir us up, whereas emotions do. Look up that word in etymology, break it down, you'll see the word emotion. You just break it down, emotion. So motion, movement, and that's what emotions do. They create this internal movement, which is not a bad thing because movement creates change. However, it can be quite distressful at times for people depending on what's going on in their life. So the full moon always, activates the emotional internal world. And because it's in Leo, it's quite dramatic. So there's a real fiery, dramatic sort of tension of things bubbling up, coming to light. But it is also a great opportunity for things to become crystal clear in terms of what you've been working through the last couple of years regarding these two archetypes, Leo and Aquarius. This full moon is also connected in a T-square with the planet Uranus. It's an out-of-sign T-square, but it is still there because of the degrees. Now, the Uranian component of this full moon can really, it's got a very powerful force that can bring a lot of uncertainty or unpredictability or sudden and impulsive actions and conditions and situations to occur, because Uranus is still in Aries. So it's gone direct, so it's now going to move into Taurus eventually, but that's not for a couple of months. It's still in Aries. So Uranus is doing his final song and dance in the sign of Aries, which is about your own individuality and liberating yourself, liberating to be free and to express your identity, who you actually are. So there's been a long process of evolution with all of that. For all of us, really, with Uranus in Aries, and certainly wherever Uranus with Aries is in your birth chart correlates to that particular aspect of your life. Now, the full moon in Leo squaring Uranus can be sudden awakening, sudden disruption. It's the sudden urges to really want to break free from certain things relating to that Leo-Aquarius polarity in terms of where it lands in your chart. So there's a lot of clarity and illumination that can come through this full moon with the tension that Uranus brings to it, because Uranus is basically forming what we call a square to the moon and a square to the sun. Now, squares are inherently stressful and challenging, but the square aspect is also the energy that pretty much creates change, because the square creates a sense of discomfort, and the discomfort sometimes can piss you off so much that it forces you to actually make change, to make decisions, to take action. It's a dynamic energy. And with Uranus, it's going to have to do very much with your own sense of liberation and freedom as well. And your experience of where you're at on your path of individuation. It's also about disrupting the status quo, because Uranus does not fit into the status quo. And Uranus rules electricity. So if you are feeling really sort of wired up at the moment, leading up into this full moon, don't be surprised. It's quite normal. Uranus rules electricity in our body. So this Uranus forming a square to this full moon is really triggering electrical impulses in your body, essentially. That's one level. And the other level is intuition as well, can be very heightened during this time, because Uranus connects to the right brain, connects to intuition, and connects to long-term memory. When I say long-term memory, that also includes past lives. So there's a lot that can really open up through this energy, where you can find new revelations that are not necessarily new. They are things that have been operating and working in your life the last couple of years, but this finality of the Aquarius Leo archetype in this lunar eclipse being the final one, it's culmination. It's coming to it's arrived. It's already there. So things will dramatically change and shift, and there'll be a greater sense of liberation as a result of it, because of the Uranus provoking that tension, provoking change in all of us. Really profound change, not little change. I'm not talking about you take that route to the gym and now you're going to take another route. I'm talking about more profound changes that lie very deep within you, that either have kept you limited, constrained, and that can now possibly create an incredible sense of liberation and freedom with your direction in life and what you wish to embark on. So it's a very powerful full moon, and it will stir things up a lot. The other thing is that Pluto, Mercury, which are both in Capricorn, are conjunct the South Node in Capricorn in this chart of the eclipse as well, this full moon eclipse. So Pluto and Mercury are carrying this very heavy energy from a mental perspective, but it can be very empowering from the point of view of really uncovering things that are normally very stuck, things that are very hard to break into. Because you see, the sign Capricorn has, by its very nature, inherently has a lot of resistance, because it is the sign that represents structure, systems, rigid thinking, negative thinking, fearful thinking. So whatever we fear, as it were, is pretty much connected to the sign Capricorn and the planet Saturn. So Mercury in Capricorn can be very rigid thinking, but with Pluto there, Pluto is just going to smash through that, and it's going to bring up some deeper insights and understanding and riches. When I say riches, see, Pluto rules wealth, actually. It rules the riches that are underneath, that cannot be seen. Pluto is the most powerful force, really, out of all the planets. That's why it's the soul. But anyway, this Pluto conjunct Mercury in Capricorn and the South Node in the chart of the lunar eclipse also carries with it that ability to smash through these very, very, very deep resistances that we all have in different ways. We all have them in different ways, but they are there for all of us. So I think that's it. I really just wanted to make this a fairly quick video. It's probably longer than I wanted. Guys, anyway, I wish you a happy full moon eclipse. I hope that you are all doing well in this very early part of 2019. I'll see you guys very soon with something else, and feel free to make comments below and ask questions. I'm always happy to respond and answer as best I can. Sometimes there's questions that go to older videos and I don't get notifications, and if that is the case, I apologize, but unless I come across it, I won't know about it, but I do my best to respond to everything. Please feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you're new to my channel and new to what I'm sharing. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you for your support and love, and sending you all much love and blessings, and I'll see you all very soon.